Good evening, everyone. This is Chairman Jesse Geller. Before we begin, I will confirm that all members and other persons anticipated to participate on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Randolph Micklejohn.
Present.
Wadner Auger.
Present.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Polly Selka.
Present. And
Polly,
I'd like to introduce our intern, Grace Pariser. And I don't know, Grace, if you can show yourself. Let's see. I have to see.
Yep. Hi,
There
that's
she
me.
is. She's going to be.
Hi, Grace.
Hi, Grace. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Smith College student. So, okay, what were you going to say?
Thank you. All speakers should identify themselves by name prior to speaking. This hearing of the ZBA in open session is being conducted remotely and in a manner that is consistent with the legislature's extension of provision initially made by March 12th, 2020 Executive Order of the Governor concerning the now expired state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. This body is authorized to meet entirely remotely so long as adequate public access is provided. Adequate public access does not include public participation unless that participation is required by law. This hearing will or may feature public comment. For this hearing, the ZBA is convening by video conference through Zoom as posted on the town's calendar, which identifies how the public may access the hearing. Be advised that this hearing is and that some attendees may be participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town website and attached to this hearing invitation. The hearing will follow the agenda unless I note otherwise. Finally, before turning to the agenda, I will cover some ground rules that will permit clear and effective conduct of our business and help to ensure accurate meeting and hearing minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I'll invite each member by name to provide any comment, question, or motion. To mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking, and to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Before responding, please wait until the floor is yielded to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in sidebar conversation with other members, please do so through me. Finally, each vote taken in this hearing will be conducted by roll call vote. For any public comment component of this hearing, I will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify themselves by name and address only. I will call on each by name. Please enter your name into the chat section. You can find the chat icon on the bottom of your screen. Click on this icon and the chat window will appear on the right. Our host, Polly, will queue members in the order in which their request is received. Additionally, we will ask if members of the public who are calling in would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to the project. I understand our first hearing, which involves property at 133 Buckminster Road and is case number 2025-0006, is now here to request a continuance. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairman Geller. Ken Goldstein from the law firm Goldstein and Herndon for the petitioner. We are working with the architects and site engineers for this project to make it as good as it can possibly be. It should be spectacular given how many continuances we're asking for. So July 3rd is, according to staff, is the best next date for you guys. We probably would have been ready at the earlier one, but it seems like you have a pretty full agenda that night, so we're going to go for July 3rd.
Okay, and Polly, I think the 3rd is being kicked over to the
It
10th.
is. Thank you. I was just going to say,
Good.
Ken, with it being the night before the 4th of July, we've decided to move that to July 10th.
Okay, it would be unpatriotic of me not to agree to that. So
Thank you, Ken. I'd be in favor of granting this continuance. Wadner?
Aye.
Randolph?
Yes, in favor of the continuance to July
Great.
10th.
Granted. Okay,
have a good evening.
thank you, Ken.
Bye-bye.
Our first case for hearing is case number 2025-00017. This involves property at 121 Carlton Street. Again, for the record, my name's Jesse Geller. Seated with me this evening are Randolph Micklejohn and Widener Auger. Tonight's hearing will be in the following order. We'll hear the applicant's presentation. We'll hear from anyone who may wish to speak in favor of this application, then from anyone in opposition. Then we'll hear the planning board and planning department reports. We'll hear the building department recommendation. And lastly, the board will deliberate and give its decision. If you do wish to offer testimony this evening, we ask that you start by giving us your name and address, speak loudly and clearly. Who's here on behalf of this applicant?
I'm here. Can I?
And sir, will you waive making Polly read the published notice?
I don't have an opinion. Either way works for me.
Great, thank you. Please go ahead. Start by giving us your name, please.
My name is Kui Xue. I'm the architect for this project. I also prepared a few slides. Please allow me to share my screen.
Hey, give me 1 minute. And I'm
Okay.
gonna make
Yeah.
you a co-host, just a minute.
Polly, while you're doing that, I'm just going to say hi, Kui. Hello, Kui. Kui and I used to work
Hi,
together
Randolph.
in an architecture office.
Yeah, hello. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, just. give
So
me-
our project is basically to add a small addition on the back side of the house. We already got approval from Historical Preservation Commission, and also 2 weeks ago we got approval from the Planning Board. So the addition is about 170 square feet. It's on the back side of the house. What we are looking for is to get a little bit of FAR relief. The existing FAR is already exceeding what is allowed in the zoning code. The
Okay.
existing FAR is 0.58 already. So the proposed FAR is 0.6. So we are asking for an increase of about like 2%, which is a small amount of the area.
I've made you co-host now, so you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, this is the front side of the house, and then it's a historical building. So what we are adding is on the other side, which is not visible from here. And then on the screen, you can see 2 plot plans. On the left side is the existing plot plan, and then on the right is the proposed plot plan. On the left side, you can see we have a small deck on the back, which is very close to the property line. The project is also to remove this entry shed to increase the setback on the back, and then this is for safety reasons. Because right now there is almost impossible to pass through this area. So we want to increase the rear setback, and then also on the back side, we are thinking to add a small addition right here on the left side of the screen. Next slide shows like a 3D view, showing the left side is a before view, and then on the right shows after. And then this shows the historical approval letter. We also get the planning approval letter, which I didn't have time to include here. On the left shows the back side of the building. You can see there's not much setback currently. We are planning to remove this little stair and then remove this 1-story shed structure. And then this is a zoning table. As you can see, we are seeking some relief in terms of the FAR. Existing FAR is 0.58, and then the proposed FAR is 0.6, a small increase. So please let me know if you have any questions. We hope you can approve our application so we can move forward.
And can you run through the legal argument for granting relief also, please?
So one reason is because the setback of the current house is less than 2 feet, as if from this picture, and also you can see from the existing plot plan. So this is a safety hazard. There's no egress, for people to, in case there emergency, so for people to pass through this area. So one of the project goal is to increase the setback, so to allow people and then allow firefighters or emergency workers to go through this area, by demolish this egress from the basement. Actually, this one-story structure serves as egress to the current basement, and then we have to remove this stair as well. So because we removed this means of egress to the basement, we have to relocate this egress to another area, which is the reason we are building this one-story addition here. So this will serve as the new egress to the basement. So we have
Polly,
Yes, I think I could help.
do you feel that you understand what the legal argument that they need to make is?
I do. I think that.
Okay, let me suggest that this applicant ask for a 5-minute continuance and have a conversation with you.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'm going to ask him to call me on my cell, and my cell.
That's fine.
617-817-1165, and it's Polly.
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to jump in and make a quick little argument for them if you
Oh,
allow
would
me
you,
to.
Bob?
I would be happy
I would
to.
be thrilled.
While I don't know a lot about this project, it appears they're seeking relief under section 40A, section 6, which would allow them to increase the non-conforming condition of the FAR as long as two things don't happen. One, they don't create any non-conformity, and number two, there is no substantial detriment to the neighborhood. I would suggest to you there's clearly no new nonconformity. They're actually taking an existing condition and making it better. And certainly I didn't hear anybody up to this point or at the planning board argue against that. It seems it's going to be a safer condition. One of the things the board does is look at these 905 conditions in order to see if it is compliant. And I would suggest to you the specific site is appropriate location for the use. It's a single family home, still going to be used as a single family home. The use will not adversely affect the neighborhood. I would argue it makes it a little bit safer, particularly with that impingement that is in the backyard right now. No nuisance or serious hazard of vehicles or pedestrian. It's not changing the circulation anyway. And arguably the pedestrian circulation around the building is improving. Adequate appropriate facilities will be provided, and the development will not have any effect on the supply of housing available for low or moderate income. For those reasons, I suggest to you that these applicants would seek a finding under 40A Section 6.
Thank you
Bob.
so much, Bob.
Greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
Polly, do we have anyone here? Well, let me ask the board members. Board members, any questions? Let's start with you, Randolph.
Yes, I've got a question. Kui, could you go back to the 3D views of the building? And this might actually be a question for Polly. Polly, yeah, you see on the right, the infill, it's pointing to a new entry door in the piece of infill construction, and there's a projecting canopy over the door. Is that canopy subject to setback requirements?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay. Let me just go a little further and then I'll sort of pause, but it occurs to me that although some construction has been removed, that this the proposed canopy over the door may be projecting into the existing setback with non-compliant and making it even less compliant because of its projection. And let me just pause there for now.
Randolph, so in terms of the setback, the existing setback, because of the one-story entry shed to the, existing, that's like 1.8 feet to the property line.
But measuring
okay.
from what? Measuring from the
Me-
base
me-
of the foundation or from the canopy?
For
edge?
you know, I mean, I'm talking about the existing condition. So
Right.
let me go back to the plan. You can see the existing setback is you know, I have a zoning table here. You know,
And
the
they've been
rear
cited
setback
for rear
is-
yard setback. They were cited for that.
Yeah, the rear setback is 1.9 feet. That's the current setback. So, you know, by removing that, the rear setback is increased to
Can you
6.3.
Yeah, can you go back to the site plan? Just let me, I'll just end this as a design question. And that projecting canopy is not shown on the drawing.
Yeah,
But can you, let me finish the question. Can
mhm.
you confirm that the edge of the canopy is less than 1.9 feet from the property line? Sorry, is 1.9 feet or more from the property line?
Sorry, can you say your question
It's
again?
on the plan. Well, it's
No, it's not. That's not on the plan. That's the
canopy
problem.
isn't on the plan.
The canopy is more than 6.3 feet away from property line. So right
Well-
now the new setback is from this bay window here to the property line. That is a new setback because we removed the basement bump up, which is much closer to the property line.
Yeah, let me try it again. The drawing on the right side does not show the overhead projecting canopy.
Yeah.
But the drawing on the left shows that the shed that is being removed, you know, is 1.9 feet from the property line. I just want to know whether the new canopy is 1.9 feet or more.
Yes,
from the
it
property
is.
line.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
It's like it's about 7 feet to the property line.
Thank you for confirming that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Wadner?
I do not have any questions.
Thank you. And I don't have any questions. Okay, Polly, do we have anyone in support or anyone in opposition to this application?
I'm just admitting one person, Henry Chen. But right now, I don't see that anyone is here. If you do want to speak, please put something in the chat, but there's nothing there in the chat now.
Okay, so let's,
Okay, so give the planning board report then. This property is in the Cottage Hill Local Historic District. And so this proposal was reviewed by the Preservation Commission, who felt that it was a benefit to this property to pull that entrance back. The planning board also was supportive and felt that the new small addition is attractively designed, and it has a new door and 2 new windows and decreases the nonconformity of the rear yard setback. And so with that, they recommended approval of the plans, site plan by Michael Clancy, dated March 10th, 2025, and architectural plans by David Ray, dated February 24th, 2025. Subject to the conditions. Prior to.
Why don't you hit your mute button?
Why don't you just mute?
Just hit your mute button.
Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit final floor plans and elevations stamped and signed by a registered architect, and a final site plan stamped and signed by a registered engineer or land surveyor to the Assistant Director for Regulatory Planning for review and approval. 2, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit to the building commissioner for review and approval, the site plan, floor plans, elevations displaying the stamp of the Assistant Director for Regulatory Planning, and evidence that the Board of Appeals decision has been obtained from the town clerk's office by the applicant or their representative and recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Thank you, Polly. And building department recommendation?
Ah, yes, I am wearing two hats tonight. Paul has told me that the building department has no objections to this proposal and will make sure that there is compliance with all of the conditions.
Thank you. And board members, discussion and vote. Let's start with you, Wadner.
I don't have any further discussion. It is a small, modest request, and it is in meet the condition of 509, so I'm in favor of it.
You mean 905, I assume.
905, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Randolph?
Just a thank you and a shout out to Mr. Allen for his courteous and cogent zoning argument in which he reminds us that we need to make a finding in order for a grant of relief under 48 Section 6 that the altered structure is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. I'm prepared to make that finding. I appreciate the presentation, also the clarification about canopy. As an alteration of an existing structure under 802 for the special permit required there, I believe the special permit conditions under 905 have been met, as Wadner mentioned, and I would vote in support of relief.
Thank you, Randolph. And I agree completely with everything that Randolph has said, which is a rarity, but it's true. So it is unanimous grant. It is a unanimous finding and grant of special permit relief, subject to the conditions as read into the record. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
You're
Have a great
welcome.
night.
You too. Okay, our second case is case number 2025-000016. This is an application to create 3 new units at 1026 Commonwealth Avenue. Again, for the record, my name's Jesse Geller. I'm seated with Randolph Mickeljohn and Wadner Auger. Tonight's hearing will be in the following order. We'll hear the applicant's presentation. We'll hear from anyone who wants to speak in favor of this application, then from anyone in opposition. We'll then hear the planning board and planning department reports, then the building department recommendation, and lastly, the board will deliberate and give its decision. If you want to offer testimony this evening, we ask that you start by giving us your name and your address. Speak loudly, clearly, and slowly. Who's here on behalf of this applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Don Gentile.
Don Gentile, how are you? Will you waive reading of the notice?
I will.
Great, thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Members of the board, I represent the petitioner 1026 Commonwealth Avenue LLC in this application to convert this mixed-use building, which currently has 19 residential units, to 22 residential units. The building currently has 16 studio units and 3 one-bedroom units. We propose to convert the 3 one-bedroom units into 6 studios. No exterior modifications are proposed. The current building meets all dimensional and parking requirements. In fact, parking is currently underutilized due to the proximity to the Babcock MBTA station. This project needs special permit relief only for affordable housing. It's really a win-win for the property owner as well as the town. The property owner has had some difficulty finding interest for the one-bedroom units. He finds that the market prefers the studios, so it's a win for him. It's also a win for the town because the town needs more residential housing. This went before the planning board on May 1st. It was unanimously endorsed by the planning board, and we ask that you approve this project tonight. The proposal as presented shows that, excuse me,
Well, there are no exterior changes, so I don't know if the Board of Appeals, would you like to see the floor plans?
I don't need to, Randolph.
I don't need to, although I'm just curious because the floor plans are symmetric. I'm just curious as to whether the divided units are on the street side or on the other side.
that's an excellent question. With me tonight is the applicant, by the way. I forgot to introduce him. The principal of the applicant, Mr. Alexander Poletny. I do not have the architect with me tonight, so I am reviewing the plans to determine the orientation to the street.
I don't think the relief, turns on this question, but
Right.
it's just interesting. I was just trying to find out and I can't see how to find out from the drawings.
Yeah, and being
When-
candid, I think you're much more qualified to
Well, that
know this
as-
from these plans
that-
than I am.
maybe I could,
Let's keep moving, and when we get to that discovery, then it can be revealed. Don, do you want to make the legal argument?
Yes, the legal argument is that based on the facts I've provided, this project will be advantageous to the town in creating and preserving affordable units, and it will not result in the undue concentration of affordable units, given that we propose making a payment to a cash payment to the Affordable Housing Fund.
Do you want to
In
make the
addition-
argument under 905? Because you need
Yes, in
special permit relief.
In addition, the special permit requirements are fulfilled here. This site, which is a dense urban area across the street from the MBTA station, is certainly an appropriate location for the proposed use, structure, and condition. The use will not adversely affect the neighborhood. There will be no nuisance or serious hazards to vehicles or pedestrians, given what I've mentioned about parking. Also, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the use. And of course, it will not have an adverse effect on the supply of housing available for low and moderate income people. In fact, it will help that condition.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
I've just been informed that the conversion is proposed on the front units.
There you go, Randolph.
thank you.
Board members, any questions? Randolph?
I already got my question in, so
Great.
no more
Wagner?
questions.
I do not have any questions.
Great, and I don't have any. Polly, do we have anyone here in support of or in opposition to?
No, there's no one indicating they would like to speak.
Let's hear planning board, planning department reports.
Okay, the planning board was in favor of this. The relief that's needed is very minor. It's just for affordable housing. And they're going to meet that affordable housing requirement with a cash payment, as Don said. There are no changes to the exterior of the building, and the 12 parking spaces that they have is sufficient to meet the residential uses in the building. Therefore, the planning board recommended approval of the architectural plans by Sophia Panova, dated March 10th, 2025, subject to the following conditions. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit final floor plans and elevations stamped and signed by a registered architect to the Director for Regulatory Planning for review and approval. 2, in accordance with section 4.08 of the zoning bylaw and the affordable housing guidelines, cash payment in lieu of affordable units option, the applicant shall provide documentation to secure the cash payments. The Director of Planning and Community Development must approve this documentation as described in the Affordable Housing Standards and Guidelines as updated in September 2024, prior to the issuance of a building permit. Such documentation may be a mortgage agreement from a bank, an escrow letter or an irrevocable letter of credit. B, in accordance with the guidelines, 1 month prior to applying for a temporary or permanent certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall notify the senior housing planner to confirm the cash payment amount, which is 4% of the assessed market value of each new dwelling unit. If other adjustments are made to the final plan that after the boundaries of additional, that alter the boundaries of additional residential units on the property, this amount shall be adjusted in accordance with the guidelines. If the applicant decides to provide any on-site units or sell any unit on the property prior to receiving the C of O, the legal instrument may be amended without requiring an amendment to this special permit. Prior to the issuance of a temporary or final C of O for the newly created units, any cash payment shall be made out to the town of Brookline in the form of a bank check, certified check, or check drawn on an escrow account and delivered to the Director of Planning and Community Development. If the applicant decides to sell any unit, they must notify the Planning and Community Development Department, amend the legal instrument described in paragraph A above, and receive approval from the Director of Planning and Community Development. And D, prior to the issuance of the final C of O, the Director of Planning and Community Development or the senior housing planner shall confirm that the applicant has fully complied with these affordable housing conditions. Lastly, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit to the building commissioner for review and approval floor plans, elevations displaying the stamp of the Director for Regulatory Planning, and evidence that the Board of Appeals decision has been obtained from the town clerk's office by the applicant or their representative and recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Thank you, Polly. And anything from the building department?
Yes, the building department has no objection to this proposal and will make sure that there is compliance with all of the conditions and the decision.
Thank you. Board members, deliberation and decision. Let's start with you, Randolph.
We've heard from the applicant's counsel the argument that this project meets the 905 conditions A through E. I agree. I accept that argument, and on the basis of that, I believe we can grant relief in the form of in under section 408, provided that the condition for the cash payment is also met, and also 802 for alteration of an existing structure. And I'd vote in favor of all that.
Thank you, Randolph. Wadner?
I agree with Randolph. I'm in favor of granting relief.
Thank you, Wadner. I think it meets the requirements under section 905 for the reasons read into the record by applicant's counsel. And I am in favor of granting the special permit relief subject to the conditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay, board members. Our third case is case number 2025-00014. This is an application to convert a basement to dwelling unit. This involves property at 16 Hamilton Road. Again, for the record, my name's Jesse Geller, and I'm seated with Randolph Micklejohn and Wadner Auger. Tonight's hearing will be in the following order. We'll hear the applicant's presentation. We will then hear from anyone who wants to speak in favor of the application, then anyone in opposition. We'll hear the planning board and planning department reports, then we'll hear the building department recommendation, and lastly, the board will deliberate and give its decision. If you do want to offer testimony this evening, we ask that you speak loudly and clearly and start by giving us your name. I'm going to take a shot here and guess that Mr. Allen is here for this applicant. Bob, will you waive making Polly read the notice as well as she does reading?
Yes. I kind of like
Thank
that
you.
response of, I don't have an opinion either way.
I kill you.
But of course, I'll waive the reading. And for the record, Robert Allen, 300 Washington Street in Brookline Village here, representing Henry Chen, who you will see on here. We also have Alita Alba from True Design, Polly, who I believe is on the call with us. 1416 Hamilton Road is an existing 7-unit apartment building. It's an M1.5 zoning district. Neighborhood is mostly multifamily housing. It's about 400 feet away from MBTA Packard's Corner. This is up by what's the bread place that everybody
Clear,
goes to?
Clear
Clear
Flower.
Flower Bakery.
Clear
right.
flower.
Towards the ComAv side of Clear Flower Bakery. So really great transportation access there. The project was before the ZBA in June 2024, but there were a few zoning and legal questions that the ZBA had. So the applicant agreed to withdraw the application. They were not represented by council at the time. I think we got involved. We worked closely with the architect and the town. We feel that we have a plan that deserves your support. The proposal is to add a new 1388 square foot basement unit for a total of 8 units, requiring a payment to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The proposed basement dwelling unit would increase the gross floor area of the building from 1.31 to 1.47, which is still under the allowable 1.50. The planning board was unanimously very supportive of the proposal. They liked the fact that this was all no exterior changes. But as is often the case in Brookline, there's what appears to be a simple proposal to some, figuring we're adding a unit can always have a complication to it. And in this case, we did have a complication from a zoning perspective. The primary concern was the increase in gross floor area, which what we typically see when we're trying to add a basement unit in these larger buildings. It doesn't have the corresponding open space. So what we did, we had an excess of parking spaces. So we took one of the parking spaces and converted it to open space. The change offers several positive impacts for the site, including increase green space, improve aesthetics from a streetscape. Plus, there's no increase to that pre-existing non-conforming condition. So conversion can be used under 505, which I know this board is familiar with. Second, it creates more green space, as I said, reduces the number of vehicles parking on the site, which arguably creates better pedestrian and vehicular circulation. And then, of course, it improves the streetscape, which there is a walkable community up there. So it is nice to improve the streetscape. Another change that we imposed was the addition of 2 bike parking spaces in the basement. The existing building is currently pre-existing non-conforming with respect to bicycle parking. Under the conversion provision, this nonconformity may be waived by special permit, provided there's no increase in nonconformity. By adding these 2 spaces, we have ensured that there is no increase in the nonconformity, thereby addressing any related concerns. Although we did explore the option of adding more bicycle parking, the constraints of working within an older building and around the existing mechanical, which is kind of spread out a little bit, made it extremely challenging to create additional space that would be accessible to all the tenants to use for bike parking. So I do have Ms. Alba here, if would be happy to jump on. But again, this is all interior, but happy to leave it to in the board's discretion, Mr. Chair.
Before you get to it, a couple questions.
Sure.
Any new nonconformity? You said there's no increase in nonconformity.
No
None.
no new
Okay.
nonconformity.
And I don't want to jump the gun, but you're cited under 543. Do you?
Well, 543 would not be needed because 505 independently allows for the board to waive pre-existing nonconformity. So CBA counterbalancing amenities are not required under 505.
Okay.
But we were cited for everything, and we were also cited for some of the parking regulations. And I was going to get into.
I was just going to ask you about
that. Yeah, and I think if Paul were here, and I'm sure he put it in his comments, he would tell you that I've provided documentation. This parking has been like this for at least 25 years. And as this board knows, that anything longer than 10 years would be pre-existing non-conforming. And I'm sure Paul put in the letter there that he accepts the fact that it's been longer than 10 years, which creates this pre-existing non-conforming condition.
I don't think that's true. I don't think it makes it pre-existing non-conforming. It just makes it zoning unenforceable.
Well, I guess that's right. Right? No permit was pulled, and it's been like that. But
right.
I mean, it's been there as far as I know. We talked to the prior owner, who was there as long as he had it. He only had it 20 years. So I was able to get back to, I think, 1994. But, listen, if you look in the Google Earth, the backyard there, this is kind of your typical back of Beacon Street, back of Com Ave, where it's just a zoo back there, right? It's just all cement and people park. It backs up to buildings that front Com Ave. They have parking back there. There's alleyways in between there. So it's just, you know, the typical kind of parking. And I believe it's probably been like that. I can't imagine there ever being grass back there with two large buildings, right? So plus there's that right of way that goes through the middle of it. So I'm quite sure that this building was built like that, but I don't have any independent evidence to show. So in my opinion, it is pre-existing non-conforming, but it has been there for at least 25 years, which I would suggest to you brings us to, I think it's 6.01 that pretty much allows an existing condition to be stayed there. We're actually making it better by taking away one of the parking spaces and converting it to green space. So I know the
Okay.
planning board loved that, particularly the two landscape architects.
Board members, do we want to see any of the plans? Let's start with you, Randolph.
I don't need to see the plans. I do have a couple of questions when we get to that point.
Why don't you ask them now, Randolph?
Okay. One, Bobby, maybe this is just a clarification. You said something to the effect, no exterior changes, and I don't see any exterior construction, but there are changes proposed in the form of windows at the
think-
building exterior.
Yeah. I was
Right, but-
talking more the streetscape. My apologies. I should have been clear. There are
Yeah.
exterior modifications, but there's no change to the envelope is what
Right.
I was implying.
And are the windows the only change on the exterior of the building?
Henry, is there a door also being changed in the back there? I'm pretty sure. We have to change out the door, not the location, but the door.
The door that's in the rear is actually in the same location, so
Oh,
we're
okay.
adding or subtracting a door. So the windows are the only exterior change that needs to be done to add the unit.
Okay, thank you. The other question, Bobby, you were cited for design review, again, number of units in the building, and I appreciate that there are no exterior changes on the windows, but is there an exemption for making the community and environmental design statement, or do you have some form of that?
I was surprised that we were hit with design review because it's typically, anything over 3 units when it's kind of new construction. You
Yeah,
don't,
but it's for any, Paul,
It's-
that is true, but Paul seems to cite it if it's for an apartment building that has more than 4 units in it, even though you're only proposing 1. But
without any exterior modifications is added on there. And I guess what triggered this was those windows as the modification. So I'm not sure that we submitted the full. I'm happy to include it in the decision as you go forward, but I mean, it would go along the lines of the improvement to the streetscape, the fact that we're adding additional open space, we're not removing any trees, we're not creating any different sight lines. Those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah,
the circulation is not changing.
Right.
yeah, Bobby, I'm not gonna ask any more about that for now, but you see it's related to this question about the scope of the exterior changes, which if it's just the windows, I don't have any more questions for now.
It is a very astute point
you.
you pulled out there, Randolph. Very good. I didn't.
Well, we have Paul's letter right here, so
I didn't catch
it's
that.
looking at us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Wadner?
I do not have any questions.
Great, thank you. Okay, Bob, anything further?
Yeah, I just want to add, so the relief is under with the affordable housing, we will be making a payment, which is always great. We're adding a garden level unit, which is also great for housing, right on the T, which is also great. Under 505, as I said before, this conversion, the 543 relief isn't needed. We're adding bike parking. We're proposing 3. We do have to waive the additional ones, which this board's allowed to do under special permit. And again, as I told you, that parking is pre-existing non-conforming. So we believe that this is a perfectly appropriate location for the site. It's in an M1.5 multifamily district. It's surrounded by multifamily districts. And as I said, it backs up to the Boston, the Brighton line and right on the MBTA. The use will not adversely affect the neighborhood. The proposal would create additional unit, all within the existing footprint of the building. No changes are visible from the streetscape, and the streetscape is actually being improved, as I said, because of the removal of the parking space. No nuisance or serious hazard of vehicles or pedestrians. No change to the existing parking layout or the site circulation, again, but for the elimination of one parking space to increase the open space. Adequate appropriate facilities will be provided, and just as you heard from the last one, the development will not have a negative impact on the supply of housing. If anything, we're increasing the housing stock to somewhat affordable because it is garden level, plus we're making a payment to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So again, a win-win for the town. And just for the record, I've also discussed the affordable housing requirements and the relevant condition with my client. And if it's helpful to streamline the process and avoid requiring Polly to read as well as she reads, we will stipulate to her not reading the affordable housing. My client is on here and is aware of the condition.
Great, thank you, Bob. Okay, Polly, do we have anyone here to speak in support of or in opposition to?
No, we do not.
Okay, planning board, planning department reports, and you've heard the kind words of Mr. Allen.
I appreciate it. First of all, I just want to give a little history because this case did come to the Board of Appeals previously in June 2024. But at that time, the applicant did not have an attorney and was not able to cite how he met the special permit requirements under 9.05. And so he's since hired Mr. Allen, and they have done that tonight. The planning.
If only he'd had a Mr. Allen sitting in the audience at the time.
Yeah.
The planning board would be very pleased that they were very pleased that there's going to be more landscaping in front of this building, and it's going to make it much more attractive. And so they had no objection. And of course, they like the fact that there's another unit being provided and that there's an affordable cash payment being provided. So they did recommend approval of the site plan by Brendan P. Sullivan dated June 7, 2024, and the architectural plans prepared by Arthur K.F. Chu dated February 4th. And the staff recommends the following conditions: that prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit final floor plans and elevations stamped and signed by a registered architect, and a final site plan stamped and signed by a registered engineer or land surveyor to the Director of Regulatory Planning for review and approval. 2, prior to the certificate of occupancy, the landscape plan dated 7/14/22 by Chu and Company shall be installed per the plans. And 3, in accordance with section 4.08 of the zoning bylaw and the affordable housing guidelines, cash payment in lieu of affordable units option, the applicant shall meet the affordable housing requirements, which I will not read since the applicant and his client are familiar with. And lastly, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall electronically submit to the building commissioner for review and approval the site plan, floor plans, and elevations displaying the approval stamp of the Director of Regulatory Planning and evidence that the Board of Appeals decision has been obtained from the town clerk's office by the applicant or their representative and recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Thank you, Polly. 2 questions for you. The sites of the plans, are those the most recent plans referenced? Are those dates correct?
Let me just take a look at them. Yes, they are.
Okay. And condition number 2,
Yes,
that landscape plan, that's the final version. It doesn't need to be reviewed. It doesn't need to be approved. Is that correct?
we should really add review.
Well, review and approval would apply for something such as 543, but
Right.
there's reference in the report to a landscaping plan, and it's supposed to include dimension parking layout, removal of paving at the street front. And I know that there was also a reference to an added metal picket fence,
That's
which
right.
may or may not be shown, but are those things already shown on this plan, this July 14th, 22 plan?
Yeah.
Or are they yet to be shown?
No, I believe they're already shown.
They are shown.
Jesse,
Okay.
can I add something about the date? July 14th, 2022 was the first date on the plan, but it has been revised 6
Right.
times. And the most recent revision date is February 4th, 2025.
Yeah, that's what I have too. I was just looking through my plans on that. I agree.
2/4/25. Okay, we will.
Yes,
And that's the landscape plan, Randolph?
that is the landscape plan.
Okay, and that's the one that we're making reference to in condition number 2.
Correct.
I think
And
so.
Polly, just to ask the same question, which I think you answered yes to, that plan has already been reviewed and approved in its final form.
Yes, I have reviewed it.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, building department report?
Yes, again, the building department had no objection and they will see that the conditions are met. They did have a comment about the parking. And they said, well, this area has been hardscape for at least 11 years, longer, as Mr. Allen had said. There are no records of those parking spaces being legalized. However, the building department would like to see them legalized with this decision and have it, the parking area memorialized for the future.
Has that been done in that landscape plan?
It would be.
It's in the.
That would qualify once if this board is willing to support this, that would kind of take away what we were talking about before about pre-existing non-conforming.
Yeah, the drawing seems to number them 1 through 9, which is helpful.
Yeah,
Are they dimensioned, Randolph?
I don't see dimensions.
No, they're spate, they're
Numbered.
Oh, actually,
Right.
I take it back.
striped and
They're
numbered, and I think there's dimensions on there.
It is
There are dimensions
dimensioned.
on the existing plan.
Yeah.
And then the proposed plan is, I would say quite similar.
Similar as in they're dimensioned or they're not dimensioned?
It's the dimension.
Well, the plan that we have revised 2/4/25 does not have dimensions. They're just shown graphically and they're numbered.
Okay, so
If the board wants, we can put today's date and revise those plans to show exactly
Yes.
what Randolph was talking about in the February plans, only with dimensions. And we
Yes.
can get that ready by the time we record the decision.
yes,
Yeah.
that's what I would want.
Change the landscape plan to today's date. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'll say, and
Okay.
we'll make
Yeah.
sure, we'll talk with our people.
5/22/25.
Great.
Okay.
Henry, you got that?
Yes, we got it.
Okay, great. Okay. Board members, deliberation and decision. Let's start with you, Wadner.
I'm in favor of granting relief. The applicant meets 9.5 requirement, so I'm all in favor. Great, subject to the condition that we just discussed regarding the parking space.
Great, thank you. Randolph?
Yeah, I agree with Wadner. I gotta admit it's a 10-point denial letter. I'm clearly looking at the project in its totality though, and I understand what Mr. Allen is saying about the character of behind the building parking at this building and others in the area, but if that's mostly going to continue, I appreciate that the improvements made on the community side of the building and the street, and especially on the left side of the building as you look at it. I think that goes a long way to responding to the requirements of design review under 509, and I would vote in for a grant of relief.
And so Randolph, you do not want to have them as a condition submit the 509, how it meets the design review standards?
Honestly, when I raised that question, I hadn't read back and forth closely enough to know whether for a building that had so few changes on the exterior, that design review was still required. And I'm going to say I wouldn't object to that condition, but in my opinion, I understand enough about the design to have an opinion about the value of what's being done.
My guess is, Randolph, typically what happens is Ashley's not here to support me on this, but typically what happens is staff waives a condition for something like this and doesn't make us go through it. And my guess is that's what happened because Ashley never doesn't do if it was required. So my guess is staff probably said it's not necessary, or Paul or somebody in Paulie's office. I don't know. That's my
Yeah,
guess.
I was really asking as a question. I wasn't trying to pin you
No,
to
no,
the
I
wall
know,
about it,
I know.
but
Okay, thank you, Randolph. Yes, I think it's, it meets the requirements under section 9.05 for the reasons read into the record. I actually think it's, to quote Saul Feldman, they're adding housing. So, and it seems
I
like
support it already.
Exactly, exactly. I won't say that last part, but
Yeah.
I do think it meets the requirements. It seems an appropriate intensification of this building. So it is a unanimous grant of the requested relief, subject to the conditions, with the slight change in the date of that landscape plan, which should also show the dimensioned parking.
And number 2 condition, is that gone now because it's already been approved by this vote?
No, it's gonna stay. It's just that it's not subject to review and approval.
Oh, okay. So that last sentence comes out, those last few words.
I don't even see those words.
So
Oh, you're
it's
talking,
all-
no, you're talking about number 1, Bob.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Number 2 doesn't provide for review and approval.
Oh, okay. Mine does. So maybe I have an older one. It says submit to the Director of Regulatory Planning for review and approval.
No, I don't have,
Landscape-
I don't have it at all.
Okay,
And
perfect.
so, no, I don't, that's why I was asking the question.
Great. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I want
Thank
to
you all.
thank
Have a good night.
everyone.
Thanks.
Good night. Polly, are
everyone.
we done?
Minutes?
done. Very, very quick meeting.
Excellent. Have a happy Memorial Day
Wait,
weekend, everyone.
Wait. I had
Yeah.
we had minutes in the packet, or do we need to vote
No,
them?
they were minutes from long ago.
Well, why were they in the packet?
I have no idea,
Okay, all right.
but they're stale.
I sent proposed edits anyway, not knowing.
That was good of you.
I can't help it.
Yeah, I've been
All right.
worried the whole meeting that where was my husband? Why wasn't he home? Worried about it. And then I remembered he was going out to dinner.
There you go. You worried for no reason, Polly. Thank you.
All right.
Terrible, but
Have a
terrible
good
weather to
night.
go out to dinner in. All right, good night, folks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Wadner.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Grace.